Hello, everybody. And here we go. How is everybody? So, vodka and cranberry juice is my drink for today. So, hey, everybody, welcome aboard. This is the Friday edition of the Shortwave Radio show. This is the show where we talk about radio, and this is the show where we have fun and share radio passion among geeks around the world, which is a lot of fun. And somebody was asking me in a message the other day how long I've been doing this. And I guess the first live show was somewhere in 2014, something like that. So from the kitchen with the radio on the washing machine, that was kind of very unique. And that was the best way I could do it with the crappy laptop webcam. Oh man, things have changed. So it's nice to have all of you here. This is the Friday edition of the show. That means there's more than one show a week. We are live twice a week on Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That's 0 hours Universal Time. On Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, 20 hours UTC. And basically, we have a lot of fun just talking about radio, shortwave radio. Yeah, that old thing that people think is dead, but it's not. There's still a lot of stuff to listen to out there, actually. And we, of course, have a beautiful chat room that with wonderful people. And you can join in if you have a Gmail account is the only thing you need. And you can say hi. And don't forget to say where you're from if you're new to the chat. Really fun to have a general idea of where you are around the world. There's a Facebook group if you like it here. I mean, the same cool, fantastic people that are here are on the Facebook group. We've reached 850 plus members now. And it's growing quite fast, so it won't take long. We're going to be at 1,000. So hope that you have fun. People are enjoying the Facebook group because of the camaraderie, the fact that there's friendship all around, and we're just having a lot of fun. And nobody pretends to be better than any other. We're there to help. We're there to share our knowledge. We're there to share what we listen to and have fun with radio. And it's cool because when this is over, this big shortwave party is over, well, you have another place you can go to, and there's a lot of activity there. People are posting what they're listening to, the radios they use, and it's really a lot of fun. It has the same name as this channel, Official SWL Channel. And so this is a great place to be. I will actually share the link to the group. And so anybody that wants to join the group, share with everyone else. Here is the group. And here we go. It's raining like crazy right now. It's raining like crazy. It's really the perfect weather to be indoors doing radio and sharing with everybody around the world, I think, tonight on this Friday evening or late afternoon here in Montreal. We have a couple of questions, a couple of things I want to talk about that people are always are asking. We are going to also, I'm going to go through some of the signals. Somebody said, be cool to know what you listen to on specific frequency ranges. Give us an idea of what is out there on the band. So I thought that I would. I'm almost there. When you want to sneeze, but it's just there, you know. I don't know. I'm sneezing every time we start a new show. Or maybe I'm allergic. So, anyways, I pet Paul the cat for like 20 minutes, so you know that's why I'm probably going to sneeze at some point. He needed some affection before he went back to his dreamland in the living room. So, anyways, I'm gonna go through the frequency ranges, like megahertz by megahertz, quickly today, mentioning some of the things that I hear on these frequency range here in Montreal. Gives you an idea of maybe what you could hear in your part of the world. It's not always the same, you know. Some parts of the world have signals that are not in other parts, but in general, gives you an idea of what my main listening of, and I'll give you a few examples of signals I've been hearing, let's say the past month on the frequencies. So I think that could be of interest for some of you out there. So, Bobby Burgess, nice to have you here. WA5107 SWL in Louisiana. Yeah, I still have Radio Deluxe 5, and I have the new satellites. I've not used it in a long time. I would have to try it out again. I've not used it in many months, so I don't know how it handles the new satellites. One thing for sure, you know, it's an older software, so at some point there could be glitches. There could be glitches at the way that it handles satellites. But I'll check it out and let you know. Maybe I'll check it out after the show. Mark Cope, nice to have you here from Dallas, Texas. Jeff Williams from Southwest Cornwall, UK. PA1SBM, nice to have you here. Alex from the Netherlands. Rob in Phoenix, Arizona. Liam Conlon, nice to have you here from the Irish Republic. The Vaults, nice to have you on board from Latvia. Jay Jolie, nice to have you here, my friend. And from downtown Montreal. And I miss my Sunday beer with my friend. I hope all of this goes away at some point, because I think we're stuck. We're stuck not going to our favorite bar for a little while. It's nice to have you on board, and always nice to have some news of my friend from downtown Montreal. Rene Charbonnier, nice to have you here from the Netherlands. Ecadarius, nice to have you on board. Esteban from the Canary Islands. James Powers from New Hampshire, KC1ENJ. Down in the holler, nice to have you here from the mountains of Virginia. I just had a thought yesterday. I took out, so I plugged my VHS and I took out my VHS tape. You know, nothing like a confinement to what am I going to do tonight? Oh, let's get out the old VHS tapes and check out what's in there. This one is music videos from the 80s. This one has a full 6 hour of videos. So, but I was actually looking at the movies that I actually recorded on the VHS tapes. And one of the fun things to watch today is the ads from that time. So the movie was I watched the movie. I watched it all. I watched Octopussy, the James Bond film, and I mean it was super interesting to just watch the ads, what people look like, the price of the stuff, the ads, the weird ads that they had in the 80s that you don't see today. You know, it's like the I would say the least professional ad today is a million times more professional than whatever non-professional ads were playing on TV in that time. And one actually that is just so funny because it's a guy that sells cars, and they Hyundais. And first of all, of course, you look at the cars from 1985; they're all blocky, chunky cars. Nothing much in the curves in there, but it's the way that he sells it and the way that he does it and his big hair. It's like, wow, this is very 80s looking. Levi Nathan, nice to have you here from Israel. Esteban says, listening now. I don't know exactly what, because he's got an old analog radio. That's the problem with analog radios. Trying to find out what exactly am I listening to, because you're not sure. You're never really sure where you are tuned on the frequency ranges. Don Warner, nice to have you here from Ohio. Jersey bound, nice to have you on board from New Jersey. Rufus Newt from Laurentian Valley, Ontario. John Pickney, nice to have you here. Eyebrawler for Northeast Arkansas. John Pickney is from Oak Hill, Virginia. 86 Fahrenheit. Wow, that's warm. Sheldon Harvey, a guy that I talked to a couple of hours ago for the recording of a show called the International Radio Report, and which is now done and sent in to CKUT. So that means that this coming Sunday morning, 10:30 a.m., that's 14:30 UTC Sunday, you will have a nice show to listen to. Very interesting subjects, as usual. Always interesting subjects on the International Radio Report. And wow, I need to count them, but we must be at least at something like 10 shows pre-recorded now. I don't know about you, Sheldon, but when we so I knew we would be off for a little while from CKUT Studios, but just how long would all of this last? That I wasn't sure exactly, but man, Montreal is really like the worst place in Canada, so it's I don't know. We're in it for a while. Just crazy. PLF Radio, bonjour et bienvenue de la France. Toujours un plaisir de t'avoir parmi nous. Toujours un plaisir. What else? So down in the holler is John from howdy, John from a Virginia boy. Oh, okay, from John Pigney. Okay. Augustin Bernard, nice to have you here. Dijon, nice to have you on board from Bavaria, Germany. John Pigney says, "Où est Monsieur Paul? Where's Paul? He's in the living room, sleeping in a chair. So I guess if he feels like he wants to come over, it's been a while since he came over during a live show." Old Radio Man, nice to have you here from Northeast Tennessee. And says, have you heard about the SDR Play online event tomorrow, May 16th? No. What's that all about? Mark Rich, nice to have you here. Penniless Plantation, nice to have you on board. Not sure what all I'm doing, but getting plenty on my new Texan 600. Cool. No, Alex, the beer around me here and the places that sell beer is crappy. So I'm settling for vodka cranberry for now. Mike WDX50, nice to have you here from Northwest Arkansas. Tom DXer, nice to have you here from the Lower Hudson Valley, New York. Matt MDK2, nice to have you here, my friend from Colorado. Chrissy Freitas, nice to have you here. And you were beautiful in that picture. Nice to have you on board from Nashville, Tennessee. At work, I guess. Jivan Robert Milligan, nice to have you here. Voice of Korea on 11635. Wow. What else do we have? Keegan, X1080X, nice to have you here from Northwest Arkansas. 61 Fahrenheit. Cloudy here. Rained early this afternoon. Here it's a definite rainy day now. Down in the holler, if you could only pick one radio, what would you pick? In the radios I own or in a new radio today? If I would have just one choice today and you ask me what am I going to buy, getting myself an XH Data D808. Because, I mean, it's an amazing radio. And it does it all for what I want. It depends on the price range also. I mean, if I had to choose and have whatever price range, whatever type of radio, of course, then if you tell me I'm going to have only one radio, if an SDR is what I could get, then I'd get an SDR play device like the RSP1A or the RSPDX. That would be my first choice. If I had only one radio, well, might as well own an SDR, like the SDR play devices. Rifleman 336, nice to have you on board. N8UCN and Stormy, Southwest Ohio. Youngling Lager from America's oldest brewery. Hey, I got one here that isn't. I've got one up there that is not open yet. I should open it during the show, but I would need to put it in ice or something. Because I got one up here, which comes from the Shortwave Festival. It was given to me by Mickey Dalmage. Penina's Plantation says the Facebook page is really helpful. Well, it's there for that. For sure. Nick Amendot, nice to have you here from Romania. UWE 57er, nice to have you here from Germany. Bob, nice to have you here from Massachusetts. What do you recommend for a quality new used shortwave portable radio? This will be for another DX location. I already have the Sony 2010. If you're looking for something very portable that does a nice job, depends what you are looking for as a radio. But honestly, it could be an XH Data D808. Love that radio. Could be, it's a little tinny in the sound, but it could be C Crane Skywave SSB. Nice little radio also, very sensitive. Has airband, like the XH Data. They're actually very similar in the way that they work. You could check out that C Crane Skywave SSB. Things like that. You might look into an SDR if you feel like it, but it depends on, SDR is not for everybody. But if you like computers and all, maybe. Brian Penny, nice to have you here from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Chrissy says it's sunny and pretty humid in Music City today. Yeah. And Naked Darius and Paul the cat is stuck outside in the rain. No, he's never stuck outside when it's raining. I make sure that he is comfy. But there's a new cat that has been coming in the neighbor's yard, and twice in the past 2 weeks I left the door a little bit open on days that it's warm outside, and noticed that he tried to steal Paul's food. And he's always outside, and he's always in the neighbor's yard. And I was looking at, it was raining a lot now, just before the show. I looked in the neighbor's yard, and he's outside. He's under. There's a balcony, and he's under the balcony to avoid the rain. So I've been wondering if he has a place to go. So I've been throwing a little bit of cat food in the neighbor's yard, and I see that he goes and eat it, and he's always looking up here. And I actually saw him and Paul in the yard, the neighbor's yard, one next to each other. They seem to be friendly together. So I don't know, but I'm wondering if he has a place to go or not. Then at the same time, I'm wondering, do I really want to have two cats? Not sure. KA2YNT. Nice to have you here, Todd. Timo93. Nice to have you here. Good afternoon. John Pickney says sunny and hot in Virginia. DE1DJK. Nice to have you on board. Says conditions past days in Germany on shortwave haven't been very good. They've been interesting here. Not the best that I've seen, but there's been a few things to for sure. But conditions were maybe not as good as it could be at certain moments. I noticed one of the stations I listened to before going to bed is the Voice of America on 5925. And that comes from, I think, about Swana Relay. Last week, it was strong every night. Very, very easy to hear and understand the program. But yesterday and the day before, it's barely there in the signal on 5925. A couple of weeks ago, Radio New Zealand 13840 was really strong. This week, not even one night that it was decent. I did have one very interesting condition that I didn't try this morning, but yesterday morning, and I don't know how long it's been last time I heard. KBS World Radio from South Korea, 15575, actually was making it strong enough to listen to the program here in Montreal. That is, I don't know how long I don't know. I don't even remember last time I heard KBS from South Korea, honestly. So that was kind of cool. But the 19-meter band, and that was at 13 UT. The 19-meter band, 15 megahertz, was full of signals from Asia. There were tons of Chinese jammers, the CNR1 jammers. There was a couple of fire drakes. So there was an opening to Asia that was really good yesterday morning on 19-meter band around 13 UT here. Jiven Robert Milligan, listening to DX Commander and official SWL channel at the same time. Lee Thompson, nice to have you here. WA8QFE. What else do we have? Do you want to do JK? Had some problem get the BBC 6195. Down in the hall or VHS. Wow. I used to use those. I mean, the VCR had not worked for, I guess, 15 years. And when I turned it on, it refused to take a tape at first. It was kind of stuck, jammed in some, it's been too long, unused in that same state. And what I did is I inserted the tape. It would send it back all the time. So I thought, you know what? I'm gonna do it a few times in the next hour and a half. And after maybe 10th or 11th time, it took the tape and it let me play the tape. But it makes these weird sounds. You see that the VCR has not worked in such a long time that it's creating all sorts of weird noises inside. But I noticed that as I use it, and I'm going to use it again tonight, I'm going to check some of the other tapes I have. I noticed that the more I use it, the more it seems to get better and work better. So we're going to check it out. Yeah, I mean, looking at a VHS tape on this TV here, oh man, the quality is so bad. Wolfgang, nice to have you here from Austria. Mike WDX50, nice. The 80s music videos. I recorded those from back in the day as well. Was a big MTV fan in the early days. I have at least 4 or 5 6-hour tapes from the 80s with music videos. And I would record everything off of every channel that had a music video program. Then we had, of course, Much Music here in Canada, and Quebec had its French language version, Musique Plus. That's where I started looking at clips, at videos, music videos. I love music videos, and for a long time, the only time I could get Much Music was when they would give Much Music for free for like a couple of weeks, so that you could, subscribe. And my mom never wanted to subscribe, so I when it was for free for a couple of weeks, I would record like crazy video clips on VHS cassettes all the time, so that I can watch them when it gets back into when it was, like encrypted again. So it's like, yeah. Oh man. Mark Rich, yep, still works. The VHS is a little, it's getting better now that I used it a few times, but the tapes are okay. It's just the quality's bad, especially 6 hours. I mean, when you recorded 6 hours instead of the 2 hours, that was even worse. I mean, that quality was bad. D1DJK in the morning, 49 meter is a bit better than I think. So he gets Austria 6155. Sheldon, how many Duran Duran videos on that VHS tape? Probably every video clip from Duran Duran that existed at the time. I can play them if you want. It's really a mixed bag of so many things I've got. In that 6-hour tape, I looked at about 1 hour yesterday, and it's like so many memories. And I've watched these tapes so often that when one clip plays, in my head, the tune, the song for the next clip after comes to mind. I know that that's going to be the next artist, the next song, and my brain remembers that the order of all the artists and the songs on the tape. Crazy. Bobby Burgess says, Ham Radio Deluxe was good for satellite tracking. I don't like Arbitron because it does not have all the transponder data. Never tried Gpredict yet to see if it does. Cat, yeah. I use Arbitron because you have that data, and I download there's a for satellites, there's a Japanese amateur radio operator. If you type JE9, Japan Echo 9 satellite list, you'll see that there's a guy in Japan that updates every single amateur satellite with all the information he knows about it. And he's got a text file, a Excel file, a Word file. It updates almost every day, and he puts all the ones that are working are in yellow. So you immediately, just visually, you could see which satellites are working or which are off. So it's the list to have, and it's very detailed and up to date in its information. Graham, nice to have you here from Milton, Ontario, Canada. Says great CB signals today. I've been trying. Let me check it out here. 27025. I haven't checked if there's some skip. Doesn't seem to have much happening right now. What else do we have? Frank Tillman, nice to have you here. Noah Fogarty from Nova Scotia, nice to have you on board. Try to catch up here. Ian, nice to have you here, Ian. We have Gaëtan Bellil, bienvenue de Sainte-Sophie. Nice to have you here from just real close to Montreal, actually. Lee Burkett, nice to have you here, Lee. Done loads of shortwave listening this week, ranging from listening to religion, environment, weather radar. I've also helped some of my followers identify frequency ranges. Cool. That's the way to do it. Kevin J. Apollo, WS2H. Thank God it's Friday. Simplio, nice to have you on board, my friend. Rufus Newt can't wait to get his RSB1A fired up soon. Cool. John Pickney's W3XWT. Yes, Alex, with vodka. It is better. Chrissy Freitas, some of the Nashville brews I've tried are really good. Rodolfo65, nice to have you here, my friend, from New York City. Jevin Robert Milligan is from Alberta, Canada. Robert Harriman, nice to have you here from Maine, KB1PMF. Caddy Atkins, nice to have you on board from Connecticut. Dejan says, I haven't done much shortwave listening today, prepared fruit salad. And my father and I went to the beverage market to get beer stock refilled. Woohoo! Chrissy, yeah. So working from home, that's cool. That's the perfect way of working. You can watch the shortwave show here and do your working at the same time. Rogerio Rocha, nice to have you on board from the Azores. Pretty cool. And it's one of those places when you hear amateur radio operators from there, I always kind of stick around and listen. It's kind of fun to listen to, all of that, those little places around the world. Koroama Nikolai, nice to have you here, my friend. Where are you located? Let us know. We want to know. Oh yeah, I saw Old Radio Man. Now that you mention it, I did see something go by about the YouTube event of SDR Play. Yeah. I saw something about that. I'm gonna check it out, see if I have some time tomorrow. Jean-Marc Letz, nice to have you on board. Bienvenue de Strasbourg en France. Toujours un plaisir. Terry Cook, KF7BQ in Western Montana. Mark Rich, online shopping this week. Bought a RSP1A, Dexon 680, and pondering an internal decent aerial to use. Cool. Simply says SDR. Oh, me on SDR. Oh my God, look at all those signals. I can't click on fast enough. What else do we have? Rough roll out 336. How's that beer down? What are you saving it for? Emergency? Yeah, I need to put it in the cold and get it. Rufus News got 2 cats. Wolfgang says, I've got this week the Belka DSP. Pretty amazing little shortwave receiver. Love it. Cool. I've seen quite a few little things and videos on it. Looks really, really nice. Karama Nikolai says, I'm all the very good Soviet-made shortwave, long-wave, medium-wave radio. It's very sensitive, and I like it very much. The problem with it is that it does not have SSB, probably was what you mean. Is it worth to buy an XH data or SDR Play? If you want to have single sideband capabilities, both, depending on what you want, a radio that you could use with a computer, the SDR Play devices are amazing. And the XH data for a portable, the D808 is amazing. It would give you single sideband capabilities. Catalin, nice to have you here, my friend. JH, nice to have you here. I have in my mind that you have ordered the new antenna from China. Yeah, it's I got a refund. It was refused. When he sent it, he got it back, and they said that there was something some hazardous material in it, and it turns out it's probably the battery. They didn't want to send it because of the battery, the lithium ion battery that is apparently included with it. So you refund my money. So what I'm going to probably do is order it from somebody else. I mean, some of you got it, so I should be able to get it too. So I'll order it from another seller. I think that's the best thing to do. Dijon, KBS is the strongest shortwave you can get here in Germany. They are blasting with 200 kilowatts from Wooferton. Yeah, and in Europe, you guys have easy access to KBS, but here in North America, they broadcast direct from South Korea, and they don't choose their frequency really right. So, you know. What else do we have? Shady Pyro 90. Nice to have you here. Says 1690 kilohertz AM Greek Pirate. Yeah, Ethan, Kevin Jane Apollo, the Ethan Elite satellite is not to be released till possibly late 2021. You know, it's scary because they could also cancel it altogether. The more it's going to take some time to get out, the bigger the chances that it could basically not ever come to production. It's like the Texan radios. DGen WWCR 13845 didn't came in either this week. That one is always a very strong one here. So basically. What else do we have? Matam Bali, if you have any Duran Duran, I think you should send the tape to Sheldon. I'll make a VHS. I'll make a DVD for Sheldon. God. Jim and Robert Milligan wishes Radio Canada International was still around. Yeah, fortunately. Mad Radio DXer, nice to have you on board. The days we recorded music off the TV and radio before downloading came about. Yep. You know, I mean, now today you think of a music video, as long as you remember the name of the song and of course the artist is going to be helpful. They're all on YouTube. Pretty much everything is on YouTube. Oh man. John Pinkney says, I have more VHS cassettes than I want to pack for the move. If I move from here, they would probably take a dump. And I mean, I don't, you know, the only one that what I should do is what I would like to do, even though they're crappy, is, digitize the music videos one. And the only other thing that's important, I have one tape here of me. It's a little movie. It's like a 10-minute movie that I made with friends at high school in 1985. So I want to keep that. I mean, it's actually on one of the tapes that I have here. I mean, I watched that, just seeing what I look like in 1985, and you see the school, and you see some of the friends I was with, and it's like, wow, this is so weird to watch, actually. Sheldon Harvey, the 80s, in my opinion, the worst decade in music in the last 50 years. It was a great decade for music. What else do we have? PLF Radio. PLF Radio is sharing the Solar Flux Index 69. So K of 1, which is typical of what we've been seeing lately. Very low solar activity for the most part. Wolfgang says, listen to the BBC World Service yesterday and today on 7445. Shitty Power 90. Depending on the conditions, I can get 7375 Radio Romania English service. Share a link for the Japanese satellite expert. Here is JE9 satellite list. This guy has a very complete list. So this one is updated May 11th, and he updates at least once a week. This is the best list. There's the list online that you can actually, if you scroll down, you'll see all the satellites, amateur satellites. It is amateur radio satellites only, by the way. But he's got a lot of details, and everything that has a yellow band has been logged as working. So if you see one that is a yellow band, if you're trying them forward, if it has that yellow line on it, you know that it's still active, which is very helpful because there's a lot of amateur satellites that, go down the drain. So here's the sat list because I want to try amateur satellites. Rick, W8PRR in Ohio. Nice to have you here, my friend. WOHP 1390. What else do we have? There's a fight of what decade was actually the worst in music now. Catalan says, can you do a video on how to install RSP1A on Ubuntu 18.04? I was looking at one of my laptops that I am never using, and it has it has Linux Mint on it right now, I think. So I'm gonna try a few things. I would like, there's one of the things that I would like to do on the channel would be to have a section on how to use like the RTL, SDR-v3, and the SDR Play devices, if possible, on different platforms, like like on Linux and on Windows. I have a friend of mine that has so she has a buggy MacBook Pro. It's buggy because there's some kind of electronic glitch in it on the motherboard. So sometimes it will work fine for like hours at a time, and sometimes you have a hard time getting just 5 minutes out of it, or it doesn't even boot up. It just does weird things. And it's the motherboard there's something on the motherboard. One of the parts is gone freaky. And of course, being a Mac, it costs so much to repair that she bought a new Mac instead. But because it does work at times, and once it does work, very often it actually, if you leave it on, it actually continues working well. I was thinking of maybe asking if I could borrow that MacBook and do a few videos of the MacBook, with SDR stuff and radio stuff also. What else do we have? What else do we have? D1 DJK 25 years ago on every band to every time was a transmission in my language. Nowadays, I need to have a hard look on the schedules. It's the same with, there's still a lot, but it's the same with French. I in the 80s, I remember in the 80s listening to French language transmissions was, and I mean, even there were tons of broadcasters who were actually transmitting to North America in French because of the French, part of because of Quebec for one part, or French Canadians. And I remember Spain, Radio Exterior de España would actually say for Canada when they would broadcast in French, meaning they're targeting French Canadian listeners. But back then there was a lot. I mean, I was listening to shortwave with my friend Jean-Pierre, which didn't understand a word of English, and he would be happy there was a lot of French language stuff to listen to. Today there are some, but it's more difficult. I mean, in the evening, forget it. Here in the evening, I don't even know what I could listen to in French on shortwave in my local evening. There's Radio Romania, but apart from Radio Romania, what else is in French at night here? Is not. I don't even know. Until very late, like at 05 UT when Radio France International starts its broadcast to Africa. So Artist Alecrafter's Kitchen, nice to have you on board. No excuse. Being late because you were listening to the Satellite 800? No excuse. Nice to have you here from Massachusetts. Brady, KJ7GFT. Nice to have you on board. And yeah, I saw something pop up about the ICOM IC705 that is like released or about to be released. So I know that a lot of people were waiting for that one. Robert Osborne, nice to have you here from Niagara Falls. Pretty cool. John Pigney says, I had a colleague who kept a small bottle of Guinness in a frame at his office with a hammer and a chain, and it said emergency only. That's good. That's good. Wolfgang, SDR player, Air Spy. They seem to be equally good. The people that have the Air Spy HF Plus Discovery seem to say that it's amazing. So you could try that. And SDR play devices are really good too. It depends on how much you want to spend and all, but still for an entry level SDR, the RSP1A is probably the best bang for the buck that you will spend. But from what I've been seeing, I've watched a lot of videos. Actually, there's a couple of channels where they compare signals from one to the other, SDR Play and AirSpy HF Plus Discovery. They seem to be very close in performance. What else do we have? Yeah, Voice of America. Lee Thompson. Sheldon Harvey says, 66-year-old and spent my early years listening to big 50 kilowatt stations from the US playing British invasion bands, Motown, California Sound, and more. 70s was still great, but the 80s went downhill. There's Alecrafter's Kitchen. When and where is the Hamfest contest this weekend? Oh, you mean the Hamvention contest? On the ham bands. The Hamvention is tomorrow, Saturday. During the local daytime here in North America. They said they'd be using different modes on the bands. So it's this weekend. If I remember well, they had mentioned they were using pretty much all the bands, all the amateur bands. So check it out. There was some CW, some SSB, and some digital modes all in there. But it's tomorrow, Saturday. I know that's tomorrow, Saturday, from like 12 UT to 21 UT or something like that. Rodrigo Galter, nice to have you here, my friend from Brazil, listening with his Texan PL660. Cool. Bob says Radio Romania International is coming in excellent here this week at 8 Eastern Daylight Time. So, yeah, Romania has been coming good. I listen to, because I listen to it sometimes earlier on 11850 at 2030, something like that. I usually, and I, at 0 UT, I like to, my listening at 0 UT goes to very often, if there's no pirates, because if there's pirate radio stations, I am on the pirate side of things pretty much. But if there's no pirates on the air, or the pirates are too weak to really be listenable, my 0 UTC, which is 8 p.m. Eastern, will be Voice of Vietnam 7315. Then at 0:30, I will move to 7780, where I'll hear Radio Slovakia English via WRMI. And at 01, which is 9 p.m. Eastern, that's where I'll switch to Radio Romania's French language transmission, and I'll listen to that usually. Mr. Lucky Train, nice to have you here, my friend, on the banks of the Delaware River, northeast of Philadelphia. So what else do we have? Randall Klontz, nice to have you here from northeast Illinois. John Luhid says, if you just like to listen to ham operators online, suggests Googling Northern Utah Web SDR. They have full coverage receiver. There's a lot of SDRs online that are really nice that you could use. I haven't used them in a while now. I need to check it out a little bit more. Simply, I was looking for shortwave radio repair to see if anyone of these techs can actually do repairs on modern units. Found none in the last few months. I think that's a dying breed of people capable of repairing the gear, the radio gear, especially for the high-end stuff, you know. If the manufacturer has stopped repairing or offering repairs for specific radios, it's getting more difficult to really find. I remember the Kenwood R5000. I still remember when it started doing the dots problem. I don't fiddle in the radios anymore. I did that when I was young, and now I'm not I don't feel like opening it and starting to. And when it gets like, the radios today, it's too jam-packed together close. I'm going to mess up the radio rather than repairing it. But I remember the Kenwood R5000 back then. There was probably 10 different TV radio repair shops in a very close vicinity from where I live. And I went to see all of them one by one, showing them a picture of the radio and asking them if they would repair it. And I even told them what the problem was exactly, because I knew what it was. It just needed to have some stuff done and probably a few capacitors changed and stuff like that. None of them wanted to play with it. None of them. They all looked at the radio and they said, no, I'm not touching that. They were scared as hell of the Kenwood R5000. So imagine today, radios are like, almost computers and radios mixed in together. It's going to be harder and harder to find people that have the skills of repairing our devices, and that's one of the big faults of that, is that the electronics today is designed to be, thrown away more than repaired, which is sad. Keegan says, 23 years old and remember listening to the Beatles in my early childhood years. My dad, W9JEF, played their songs from his CD. I think the Beatles are for most of us. For most of us, this is one of the first bands. One of the first bands. Mr. Lucky Train, stay-at-home order in effect until the end of the month, at least at the earliest. Yeah, here we are. Montreal is confined until May 25th. But I have a hunch that they're going to extend that for a few more weeks. Brian Penny says, please start that blog at Sheldon Harvey and quit picking on 80s music. Kevin Jane Apollo says, Joe, if you want to see something funny, Pauly Shore is trapped on Maui and posting a rants from Maui on YouTube. Oh, really? Oh, man. Oh, man. What else do we have? Let's go down here. Lee Burkett says, can't remember when I bought my first video cassette, Joe, but I still have all of them from the early 80s. I have the original VHS player from 1984 that my dad purchased in 1984. And it's actually right here on the floor in the back. And I believe it still works. And that thing is 1984, 36 years old. And it still works. It's a little clunky because it hasn't worked in a while, but it still works. Crazy. And that thing weighs a ton. It's not like the one I have here. The one I have here is a Panasonic that I purchased in 1999 because I wanted to have a VHS. That thing weighs nothing. There's like nothing in there. But the one that I have from 1984 is Zenith from 1984. That is so difficult to program. It's all of these little switches that you have to set. And it's not a top charge. It's really a frontal charge. It was a very advanced one. My dad had paid like $1,000 in 1984 for that VCR. Crazy. Has anybody tried a new frequency of channel 292, 3955? I know that a few have mentioned they were listening to 3955 for channel 292. The U1DJK, we have Conrad Electronics and Saturn Hands where you can buy some selected radios only, but no repair or service. Sean Pinckney bought his first VCR in May of 1980. Still have the first video cassette. It has TVDX on it. Oh, wow. TVDX. I like that. No, installing Linux or anything else than Windows does not void the warranty at all on any machine. The only thing is if you have something, you might need to reinstall Windows on it. But even then, Calvin, nice to have you here, my friend. Says, been busy with radio this week. Bought an old Sharp 40 channel CB with upper-lower sideband. Another ICOM 706 MK2 and built a Francis FM radio kit. That's keeping you busy. Eric Cottrell, bonjour. Bienvenue. Nice to have you here, my friend. Shelly, nice to have you on board. Happy Friday. D1DJK, most probably on shortwave, is that not many broadcasters target Europe or North America anymore. They more target Africa, Asia for some reasons. Well, they target where their audience is the most. One of the things that I remember hearing, and I don't remember what show it was, they were mentioning how a lot of broadcasters that left shortwave or that stopped broadcasting to North America were saying that they wouldn't receive much correspondence from North America. So what happened there is that they would find that it's not useful to broadcast to North America since it seems like nobody's listening. And that's why I always tell everybody, write to the stations you love, let them know, basically. That's a good one, Simplio, because when you have very, very, very latest technologies like that, the 10 Gen i7, there's not a lot of distros that actually work well with these new technologies. It takes a while for Linux distros to really get up to shape with the latest. So just download a few and try them. It's the best that you can do. VOA went commercial. And now on the Voice of America, Brother Stare in how do you say it in special English? Brother Stare in special English, and he would talk super slow. Oh man. Eric Cottrell says, good news today. ICOM says they're releasing the ICOM IC705 to Japan in mid-June. So you're gonna be the happy owner of a new radio, I guess, Eric, at some point. A new transceiver. What else do we have? Grenadin Tuttle 4, nice to have you on board. And KJ7NUX. Ronald Klontz says he would try Ubuntu 20.04. So, could try that. Tristan, nice to have you here. Control says IC705 is 5 or 10 watts, covers HF, 6 meters, 2 meters, and 70 centimeters. Oh, that's really a complete rig. Has all the bands. Kevin Wood from Nova Scotia, nice to have you here. Yeah, the problem with like I said, when you have very, very recent hardware, most distros are not yet compatible with it. What else do we have? Thanks, Sheldon, for sharing the Hamvention special event. So it's the basically it's the Hamfest QSO party all day tomorrow that will be a radio event for the Hamvention that is not happening. Andy Coley, nice to have you here. Yeah, that's the good thing about Linux, like Randall says. You can download it, put it on a USB thumb drive or whatever, and just run it in live mode, so it doesn't change anything, and you know if it works from the start. What else? Korama Nikolai is from Romania. I would like to ask you what part of... Oops, I lost the... Okay, sorry, I'm just gonna find where I left. Okay, here it is. So I would like to ask you, what part of the broadcast do you like the most on Radio Romania? I love on Radio Romania there's a segment they have that's really interesting, is when they go back and talk about the communist times in Romania. I always find it super interesting. And of course, the news is nice because there's a lot of news about Romania itself also. Things we never would know is happening if it wasn't for their broadcast, actually. And this is the fun of shortwave. So many countries, I would not know what's happening if it wasn't that I'm listening to them on shortwave, you know? Um, what else do we have? Karunga, nice to have you here. Del, nice to have you here. Well, here I can tell you, China Radio International is not dominating at all. We have a couple of broadcasts, but since their Albania transmitter site is not used anymore, China Radio International is not a station I hear much. And I think all the big broadcasters will still be there. I think even China Radio International, just look at one thing. With Albania transmitter side gone, they've not ramped up the Chinese broadcast to North America like it was before. And I think that is telling us that even China Radio International is understanding that North America is less and less of a good or interesting market for their shortwave broadcasts. So Calvin, has been a busy week. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. What else do we have? Darius says the original VHS release of E.T. the Extraterrestrial. Oh, wow. John Pickney, Matsushita, rarely made junk. Yeah. I would buy Panasonic branded stuff almost all the time. Every time I would buy something that was electronic and I had a choice, it was either a Sony or a Panasonic, because I always had some real nice experiences with those. The brand that was the crappiest every time I bought something, Sanyo. I've always had bad experience with Sanyo branded electronics. I had a Sanyo radio. It crapped out real fast. I had a Sanyo Walkman, and it didn't last that long. I mean, it was one with the auto reverse. I still have it. I don't know where I put it, but I still have it. I still have it somewhere. And I think it's somewhere here on the top. But I mean, Sanyo branded stuff never really was good for me. So it's crazy. We have Elizabeth saying hello from Regina, Saskatchewan. So hello there, Elizabeth. Nice to have you on board. As I look at the email. Crittenden Total 4 says, I was super excited to use the AirSpy HF Plus, but after using it, being limited by the small bandwidth and not seeing a noticeable difference. Huh. And if you want to have VHF UHF performance, I believe the AirSpy HF Plus Discovery is limited in frequency range, where the SDR Play devices go up to 2 gigahertz. Legion says, I'm very fed up with our postal service. I sent a report to Voice of Korea February 29th, and now the report came back to me stating that there is no postal to the DPRK, but the website says there is service. Yeah. That's Weird. International mail has always been weird. There's always something bizarre in there somewhere. Rufus Newt says the problem with the repair is at minimum $60 to remove covers. Estimate fee will vary. Throw it away and buy a new one. Yeah, when it's a $2,000 receiver, you'll pay that. But I mean, for a radio, I mean, I can't even see myself having a repair on one of my portable radios. I mean, if my XH Data D808 goes berserk, I'm going to buy another XH Data D808. That's it. What else do we Catalan, what about the Crystal Radio Project? Crystal or Galena Radio is the same thing? Yeah, it's the same. It's the same type of. It's a Crystal Radio. Jane Dagger, nice to have you here. Calvin, any DX coming on 27555? Well, there's a little bit of stuff on. Just let me check it out here. There's a little bit of skip on 27025 channel 6. You just check it out here. I'll leave it in the background. We'll see if I hear anything on 27555. D1 DJK Brothers there in channel radio rule. PLF Radio's got channel 292 and 3955. First time he gets them on the frequency. Cool. CJ, you asked that same question at least 3 times. No, I am not. Or there's Ali Crafter's Kitchen says, was on Amazon today. Have a gift certificate. Saw World Radio TV Handbook price. Almost fainted. Yeah, it is expensive. The World Radio TV Handbook. It's really because you need to have that reference for sure. Because if you get the World Radio TV Handbook for your shortwave listening pleasure, it's too expensive for what it is. It's very, very niche in its information. It's anybody in the world of radio or TV media and so on. Yes, you need that World Radio TV Handbook for reference purposes of who to contact and the information, the emails and the details of postal and phone numbers and all of that. Yeah, it's an amazing book. But I cannot tell people that are shortwave listeners or beginners that you should buy a World Radio TV Handbook. You're not gonna get much out of that. It's not made for a beginner, shortwave beginner or anything. It's not even made for a regular standard shortwave listener, I would say. What else do we have? Javern Robert Billigan says Romanian military signal on 2624 upper sideband. Eric Cottrell says his local shortwave club, Badix, is trying out a virtual meeting through Zoom tonight. Works well. I used it for the first time actually last week. I had never used Zoom before. Works well for virtual meetings with a lot of people. What else do we have? Calvin says, planning here on the other day from all over Europe, Brazil coming in. Mike Rich never had any issues with distro compatibility with new hardware. So, And I don't agree, Mark Rich. I use a lot of distros and I have tons of computers. Linux distros are difficult to run on a lot of hardware. It is not true. I can tell you that. And I've been a tech guy for 15 years. I tell you, the Linux distros, it's not as easy as it sounds. And it's not that fast. There are some, because there's always a community working. So there's always some updates. There's always some stuff happening, that's for sure. But I can tell you, take 10 laptops, try distros. You're going to see. It's official that you're going to have problems on some laptops. It's always been like that, and it's still like that. I try enough distros, and I've got enough different computers that I play around with that Linux distros, well, when they work fine and they work great. But the question is always, will it work? There's always a little something somewhere. What else do we have? Matias Ramos, nice to have you here. Where are you located, Matias? What else do we have? Jane Dagger, even my PL660 just doesn't pick up stuff during day much with a line wire antenna. Yeah, daytime, especially as we're getting into summer, daytime is not the best, like at noon, 1 p.m. or stuff like that. It's not the best time for radio. Kariono Wasman, nice to have you on board. 4 a.m. in the morning there. Wow, watching. Good morning, my friend in Indonesia. Nice to have you on board. Mike, WDX50. Panasonic was a good brand, slightly ahead of their time. Yep. When they made something, they made good stuff. Vianney Arsenault. Bienvenue de l'Est du Québec. Nice to have you here from eastern part of Quebec in the Gaspésie area. What else do we have? John Pickney says Sanyo and Sharp were junk. Most of the time, yeah. Most of the time, absolutely. They were kind of bad. And the worst part is they weren't cheap. They were almost as expensive as the rest. But man, Eric Cottrell still as is Panasonic RF 2200. Kuroama Nikolai says China Plus is quite a thing here in Romania. Signal is good at night. Also like the fact that they even have a separate channel where they transmit in the Romanian language. Cool. Yeah, 11 meters is not just solar activity. Sometimes sporadic E-skip is going to be into play a lot. But, of course, there was a lot more sustained 11-meter activity when it was we were at the top of solar activity. Everybody saying hello to Elizabeth. Arthur Zalacraft says, Sanyo made a line of amazing-looking shortwave sets I used to drool over. Glad I didn't invest in them now. Oh, man. Sanyo was horrible. Everything I had from Sanyo was horrible. John Pinkney says, I still have my Uniden clone of the Sony 2001. Man. Mad Reader DX, sir. Everybody saying hello to Elizabeth. Art Budger, nice to have you here. I have a 1980 Sanyo boombox that still works well on shortwave too, but yep, Sanyo quality dropped off a cliff at some point. They could have had some good stuff at a certain point. The first time I actually purchased a Sanyo device was, I believe, a boombox in something like 1987, 8-ish. And the switches went bad like after 6 months. the switches went bad, and and I had paid a decent price for it, and I was kind of not happy. I had a realistic boombox bought at Radio Shack in '84, and when my Sanyo boombox gave out after like 6 months of use, my realistic still was working from Radio Shack. It's just that I wanted to have something with better sound. But I thought, maybe it's I just got the bad one in the quality sphere, and I went out to buy, because I wanted, when I had my first full-time job, the commute was like an hour, more than an hour going and an hour coming back. So I wanted to have, because I was in the bus, I wanted to have music. So we're talking 1989. I wanted to have a Walkman, and I went to a store, and they had like, 10 models, including a Sony one. And I was kind of a little strapped on cash. So the Sony one was like 150. Then I saw next to it was a Sanyo one that looked nice, and I decided on the Sanyo. And the Sanyo was like 119, and it was an auto reverse and all this stuff. It lasted like barely more than maybe a year before it started going bad, and I still have it here. The cassette playing part is all crapped out, but it works on the radio. It does work on the radio. David, nice to have you here in Barcelona. Says CNR and CRI have been experimenting with DRM as of late, so maybe they're kind of stagnating over their AM analog broadcasts. Yeah, it's not impossible, but I'm still so I mean, I don't understand. I still don't understand why they're spending so much money with that crappy DRM digital stuff. Crazy. It's crazy how I have a hard time actually understanding how they just can't see that there's no radios out there that do it, and that and unless you got a really good signal, forget it. It doesn't work well. It's very weird. I have a hard time. Us, the listeners, everybody with experience on DRM will tell you, it's kind of crappy. But they're professional broadcasters. I mean, they are big gun broadcasters out there, and they seem to not see how crappy that thing is. I am a little surprised. I'm a little surprised. John Pigney says, I put a Sanyo AM FM cassette rig and a dash of my 77 Ford. The front amplifier died 1 month after warranty expiration. Oh, man. That is the worst, You buy something, and it's like, yeah, it crapped out 2 weeks after the warranty expired. Channel 292, isn't Channel 292 in Germany? I'm trying to remember, but I think Channel 292 is out of Germany, right? Oh, yeah, that's what DGen says. It's Rohrbach near Ingolstadt, Germany. Yes. Yes, I am wearing a Google shirt. What else do we have? I'll try to go a little faster here if possible. But you got to listen, because 11 meters is there regularly. In the past month, there was a lot of times with some Sportic E-skip. There's a little bit now, but it's not very strong today. Um, oh, that's weird, Catalan. Using credit cards for antennas. Crandon Total 4 is looking for any recommendations on a CW transmitter. Just based my technician and realized I have rights to CW on 80 and 40 meters. So he just passed his technician. Cool. What Degen has? What station I was writing the most back in the day? Wow. I wrote a heck of a lot to Radio Moscow. It shows actually in my QSL collection. It seems that I wrote a lot to Radio Austria, Radio Bulgaria, Radio Moscow, China Radio, or Radio Beijing, because China Radio International was Radio Beijing back then. KBS World Radio, or which was Radio Korea back then, in South Korea. Those were some. HCJB was one that I wrote very, very often also. Take care, my friend DE1 DJK in Germany. See you soon. Good night, René Charbonnier from the Netherlands. Kevin says, have a few more CBs on the way as well. Wow. Superstar 3900, Mint NATO 2000, Magnum S9. Wow. A lot of toys to keep you busy. That's the perfect way to do it. Sinan Awad, nice to have you here from Bulgaria. Sorry, guys. What do we have? Penniless Plantation. Any concerns about losing access to our Chinese imported equipment going away? I don't think so. I mean, things are going to come back to normal at some point. I think it's just that we're in a turmoil right now, so it's kind of a little more difficult to find and to have the stuff that we want. But as everything so slowly clears up, I think things are going to come back to normal at some point. That's some normal. I've noticed that there's still some problems with the receiving stuff from China. Bullfrog 89, nice to have you on board from Watertown, New York. Been a few weeks. Spring semester is finally over, so he's got some time to relax. So, he's now N2VNP. And hey, N2VNP took over his uncle's call sign. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Catalan, Meridian RP309 was my childhood Russian radio. Wow. Oh yeah, we respect Mark Rich, but we all have our viewpoints. No problem there. Rifleman 336. If you think the World Radio TV Handbook is expensive, try a copy of M Street Directory or the Klingenfuss. Yeah, I was looking at the Klingenfuss Utility Directory last week, and it is very expensive. It is very expensive, absolutely. What else do we have? Arcatro and a problem with the new laptops and Linux. As laptops makers will put in the new hardware that lack Linux support. Sometimes it's due to the fact that it's proprietary stuff, so they don't have the proper drivers to run it. That's one of the biggest problems. Glenn, USA R18, nice to have you here from Milwaukee. KB9ENIN, not ENIN. What else do we have? Calvin says I have an old beige portable Sanyo color TV with a bubble screen still working today. For the retro gaming stuff, absolutely. You know, it's because it was too big and I didn't want to have it, but I do have some regret of throwing away my 26-inch Sony CRT TV because all the old stuff like the Commodore computers and the Atari and the Amiga, they actually look much better on that old TV than on the newer TVs. But that's because the image from those TVs is crappy, so you don't see the default or the defects. Good night, Kurama Nikolai. Always welcome to be here. What else do we have? Tubes are always cool. Always cool. What else do we have? Trying to reach. Take care, PLF Radio. Fais attention à toi. À la prochaine. Joseph Nusser. The only logic I can see in a broadcaster using DRM is if they use it as a relay or backup. You know, I see DRM possibly in a local environment. For example, broadcasting DRM in a city. That could work because there's no effects of the propagation of shortwave. But on shortwave, with propagation, signals going up and down and all of that, the signal to noise ratio is always changing, and it makes it darn difficult to decode anything on DRM. And with the noise levels we have today, it's even more difficult. So, you know, it's crazy. Have a good supper, John Pickney. Tornado watch here in Massachusetts till 10 tonight. Wow. Okay. See you next time, Lee Burkett. It's nice to have you on board as usual. Pipe stream. Okay. Hey, I don't speak German, so I don't pronounce the German words like they should be pronounced, that's for sure. Oh, man. John Ritson, nice to have you on board. 2E0JGR. Pretty cool. Joseph Nusa Sanjian is made in Taiwan, so yeah, I don't know if they still make in Taiwan. I need to check out, but they have some neat. I know it's crazy because it's not radio. I have a Sanjian WFR20 internet radio here. And the worst part of it is there's something that attracts me to it, but I never listen to it. And I've been looking at it this week a few times and thinking, you have that $250 internet radio. That sounds great. You should use it and do stuff. And the only use I actually have on it most of the time has been music because it sounds great. I mean, it has the Bose style audio in it. So even though it's a small Wi-Fi radio, the sound is crazy. But the only use I have for it every time is music, you know. Last time it worked, is Christmas, because I played Christmas music through it. But it's here, and I'm thinking I should take it out, put it in the kitchen, and maybe use it in the kitchen as a streaming box for either listening to music, or if I really want to use a stream of like the BBC or stuff like that. But I haven't used it in a while. I need to use that thing again. Probably what makes me a little mad on that Wi-Fi radio is that when you start tuning a lot on the streams that's inside, because it uses the receiver database, after like 15 to 20 different streams, it craps out with an error message in the display, and it has to restart, and which maybe that turns me off also a little bit. And of course, it's not a radio. I mean, you're not listening to radio on that thing. It's a Wi-Fi device getting stuff on the internet. Joseph Nusa still looking for SDR. Whoops. Let me just go back here. Let me just go back here. Okay. Let's go down. Okay. I'm catching back up. So, still looking for SDR software that can run in Windows S mode. No software is going to run in S mode. S mode is a lockdown mode. You cannot run anything else than what comes through the Microsoft Store. If you want to run stuff on Windows 10 S, what you need to do is upgrade it to Windows 10 Home. That is a free upgrade, by the way. You just have to go to the Windows Store and choose Windows 10 Home, and that's going to upgrade your Windows 10 S to Windows 10 Home, which is a real Windows 10 that's going to work your SDR software. Windows 10 S mode is a lockdown version of Windows 10, but Microsoft gives free upgrade to Windows 10 Home if you don't want to have the S mode. Just go to the Microsoft Store in the in your Windows and search for Windows 10 Home and click upgrade, and you're going to see it's going to be a free upgrade. Dijon says the station I ride the most is KBS World Radio. I write them at least one email per week. Wow, cool. They like to have good correspondence, though. Oh yeah, Calvin, it makes a really big difference playing on an old TV. Absolutely. That's for sure. What else do we have? Mad Radio DXer. I use a scanline generator for my Amiga and other whole hardware on my HDTV, so it does not look too pixelated. Recommended when there is no more room for a second TV. Because I'm in the, I still have my my moments where I think I should never have, thrown away that TV. But anyways, it's done. So I got to live with my decisions. You, Calvin Morgan, nice to have you on board from South Wales, UK, where we are still on lockdown. Keep smiling, keep going, never give up. Absolutely. Joseph Nusalevs is Stangian 909X. Nice speaker, nice interface, and semi-portable. It is a nice radio. I mean, when I look at the Stangian ATS 909X, I have to say it's a beautiful design of a radio. One of the most beautiful receivers I've seen. Dejan says, I sometimes wonder what your neighbors think of your hobby. Did they say something about your antennas? The funny part is, okay. Got several neighbors that I talk to. And of course, I'm the friendly neighbor that everybody loves and knows. And here in the building, well, it's only women, and they all have my phone number because if something goes, like last time when there were like young guys smoking pot, well, Gilles is the guy. So he's the guy that's going to help all the women in the building. So they all have my number in case of, Here in the building, nobody ever mentioned my antennas. Ever. No one. But in the backyard, so I speak to I speak to the people that live on the other side, and on the left side here, that have the little houses. And when I put up my first wire antenna many years ago, I did it at night in a way that, the least amount of people actually see me put up a wire. Because one of the things about our hobby that is a little complicated is you don't want to have too many people know what you do and what that antenna is, because you're bound to have somebody somewhere kind of going crazy and saying, well, that's because of your antenna that I'm having crappy TV, or, you don't know how they're going to react. So I put up the wire antenna, and basically it took maybe 6 months. And one day I'm talking to the neighbor in the backyard, and out pops a question that she wants to ask me. What's that wire? What's about why do you have a wire in the air going like that? So it's like, oh, you saw the wire, and even though it's a small one, because I use the smallest one possible, so it doesn't show, and unless you really know, it's not that easy to see it. And so I was surprised. I was like, oh, well, I do short. So I told her, I do shortwave radio listening, and I listen to stations from around the world and everything. And she was like, oh, wow, this is so cool, and this is my antenna for that, So she's the only one that ever asked me. But 2 weeks ago, so of course Montreal is in confinement, so a lot of people are not working. Equals when it's a beautiful day, a lot of people are taking walks outside more than usual. And I saw a couple, a man and a woman, walking, and I was actually looking out the window by accident at that time. And they stopped and stared at my antennas, and I could see them talking for about 5 minutes. And I was like, okay, they're wondering what that is, But my neighbors never asked me anything about the antennas, and I mean they're super visible, especially the one, the MLA30 that is horizontal. I mean, that thing is easy to see. The W6 LVP loop is the easiest to see. I mean, there's that big black loop there on the balcony, Joseph Nusa, the receiver database constantly updates. I have a nice Revo Blick, but receiver does not seem well maintained. What I hate about a receiver database is it's not user friendly. It's kind of a mishmash of everything in there. So you got 20,000 streams, but better work hard to find whatever you want to find, And the WFR20 I have here, I find that the interface is kind of a little, I don't know, outdated. It's kind of, but it has great sound. Maybe I should use it for music. I'll put it in the kitchen tonight and see. Calvin Morgan says call sign is MW5 UFO, and he uses an FT890 long wire and 100 watts. Cool. David says, myself and my family's daily driver is still a Philips CRT from the early 2000s. The thing just refuses to die. You know, that Sony TV was, when I threw it away, that Sony TV was 20 years old. And it worked so well that I was looking at it and I was like, for a while I was like, well, it's going to die someday. It's 20 years old. It's going to die. But the more I used it, the more I thought, you know what, that thing is never going to die. I'm going to have to throw it away sometime. And, of course, that's the sad part, I would say. But people want new technologies. When I put it outside, I put the, remote control on top of the TV taped, and the little note that said, this TV, this is a 26-inch Sony TV. I put little details like works great for video games and stuff like that from old consoles. Still works perfectly. Because I wanted to make sure people understood it worked. If you want it, take it. It's yours. And, of course, nobody never took it. And what happened? Here, I don't know about you guys where you guys live. Here, if you put a TV out, after a couple of hours, somebody will have punched a hole through the plastic casing and will go and get the copper wiring that is near the CRT base to sell. And that is what happened to that TV. I left it there. Next morning, I looked outside. It was lying face on the floor. The plastic casing was broken, and somebody had taken the coil of copper wire. No problem, Joseph. It's something that not a lot of people know. But Windows 10 S is a lockdown version, and you can move it to Windows 10 Home for free. They did that because people complained. And you're better with Windows 10 Home than Windows 10 S, because with Windows 10 Home, now you'll be able to do what you want. VK2 FBHA Brian, nice to have you here from Australia. I had the neighbor pull down the counterpoise radio on my buddy pole once. Was rather shocked when I came over in a rage why he pulled my antenna down. And it's something that's why I always kind of keep quiet of whatever I'm doing. What else do we have? Christy Freitas says, yep, I had to upgrade my new pink HP stream from S mode to home edition, totally free. And even if you don't use it for SDR, it's just want to be better. Yeah. It is much better to have the home version that does everything. S mode, I understand that could be useful for certain environments, like put a ton of laptops in a class full of kids. You better have S mode on, because you can't infect it. You can't, they won't be able to install their favorite program or game or whatever. And it's much safer to use. So having S mode is useful for a specific use. But for us, everyday use, it's totally useless to do so. We don't need, to be limited or whatever. Jerry K, nice to have you on board from North Carolina. Vodka and cranberry juice is the drink here tonight. Stephen Hayes, nice to have you here, Steve, M3SNU. Nice to have you on board. What else do we have? Android DXer, look at the SLG 3000 best scan line generator for the price if interested. Okay, I'm going to check that out. Joe Sombra Newhouse, nice to have you on board. Nice to have you here. I did see something, Mad Radio DXer, and maybe I don't know, maybe it would be a waste of money or not, but I did see something that is interesting, Mad Radio DXer, for my old computers. There's an electronics store not far from here that sells a projector, a cheap projector. You don't use that for most people will not use that with their computers because it's like, resolution is crappy. But when I actually was looking at it, because the guy thought I would buy it, and when I saw the resolution at which it was working, even though it could have a really big picture on the wall, I was like, no, I'm not going to waste my money. But it's not very expensive, though. I don't remember the price exactly, but it was like, $89 or something. I saw something that kind of made me think, So it's small, and he had a Nintendo on it. The original Nintendo. So that also looks crappy on a new TV. But on that thing, projected to the wall, a white wall, it actually looked nice. Like a CRT nice. And it's probably because of its crappy resolution that isn't able to show all the crappiness of the old graphics. And I thought about, I could get that $89 box and plug all my computers on it and just project it to the wall and play. So that was one idea that came to mind. Liam says, where's the man, Mr. Paul? Well, I guess he's still sleeping because he hasn't come over to say hi. Dejan says, if I put up the MLA30 on the balcony, I'll do it when no one is at home. It is actually forbidden in our apartment building to put up a private antenna. You'll see, as long as... and the MLA30 is nice for that purpose. It's nice because it doesn't... It's not easy to see. If I had only one MLA30 here on the balcony, I would probably... a majority of people would not notice that there's something there. Not on the third floor. They see the W6 LVP, and that is what attracts the people to look up here. And I am thinking of putting my W6 LVP back in the backyard somehow, and having that, that feed line that I still have that is right now not really used. So I'm going to check it out. Understand the times. Nice to have you here. KC8KSK from South Carolina, enjoying the show, eating pizza. I'm jealous. I'm going to have pasta tonight. I've got some, this week I got some good food recipes. So tonight is the last recipe that's left in the box is a pasta recipe that looks pretty good with a green salad. And I'll have pizza tomorrow, probably. Mika Delmage. Back from watching the snowbirds fly over. Wish I knew their frequencies. That's something you should have, yeah. They use a lot of open analog frequencies. They're you should have looked online. I think there's a page dedicated to the snowbirds and their frequencies that they use on VHF, UHF for their transmissions. Because they always use the same. Dejan says, the long wire runs on the balcony, which is just next to my room. Sometimes thought of putting up a long wire in the backyard, but I could imagine that the facility manager would get mad because of the wire. If I, you know what, Dejan, what I always did everywhere I moved, I would. So you got two ways. You can ask for permission, which is honestly the best thing to do. But in some instances, so like in your case, you're saying that you're not allowed to have an antenna. So there are creative ways of doing something. For example, you know what? The MLA30, if you're not allowed for an antenna, you could disguise the stuff. I saw one picture, I don't know where. The guy has an MLA30, and he put up a flower pot. So there's a pot with tons of flowers in it. The MLA30 is right next to the flower pot. And because of the flowers and the leaves and everything, you don't see you have no idea that there's an antenna there. And it's his way of camouflage of the antenna so that the neighbors don't notice that it's there. And it seems that it's working for him. For a wire, you know what? I don't know how high you are up. The problem with a wire antenna is the fact that somebody could, if it's too low, somebody could, hit it somehow or find it somehow by moving something or just walking. If you have the wire antenna like hitting your head when you're walking, it's not a good thing. Here, the height that I am, I could put up a wire and it's very high up in the air. Nobody will ever notice. So what you could do is there are ways to actually make it very, very almost invisible. Like, use a thin wire and properly choose a color of the wire. If you use the thin wire and the proper wire and put it in the right direction, you know what? You might be able to put up a wire that nobody ever notices there. What else do we have? And Reader DXer. And here in the UK, if I left the TV outside and they knew it was me, I would most likely be reported for fly tipping. What's fly tipping? Because here, what do we do is here in Montreal, there's a day where you could put some stuff outside, like a CRT TV or, an unused, desk or whatever, big objects. If you have a fridge, for example, there's one day per week where the city goes through the neighborhood and picks up all the big heavy stuff and brings them to wherever recycling plant or so that they so we have that here. This is what happens. So when I put it out, that TV out, so here's on Wednesday morning that they do it. So when I put it out, it was on a Tuesday because I knew that on Wednesday morning they would pick it up. So that's why I do that here. Rufus Newt delivered so many 32-inch Sony XBR Trinitrons. My back is a wreck. Oh man, these are so heavy. These are so heavy. I still remember when I took down that 26-inch down 3 stores here. It's like, oh man, that's heavy. Keith Logan, nice to have you here. Pretty good, pretty good. Hubert Major, bonjour. Nice to have you on board. What else do we have? What else do we have? Ricardo Silva, nice to have you on board from Portugal. No, I don't know what fly tipping is. It's slang in UK for throwing rubbish wherever you please. Ah, okay. No, this one was not wherever I please. It's just that we have one day a week, where if you have big objects like a TV, for example, you don't use anymore, that you could put it outside in front of your home, and the city goes through the streets and picks up on Wednesday morning all the stuff people leave outside. Jet Gyrotech, nice to have you here. David says, here in Spain, if you left TV outside next to a trash container, no other way to do it, it would automatically be picked up and crushed by the trash picker truck that following night. Jerry DX, nice to have you here. Red Wayne, nice to have you on board KC2NXB. Take care, Kadarius. It's nice to have you here. Mandrill DXer, over here in the UK, they are hot on fly tipping. I've seen furniture on the side of highways, fridges on country roads. It is more common now because of lockdown and rubbish centers being closed. Okay. We want GoPro videos of Jill on a ladder playing with wiring. Oh, man. I'm not sure I want to post that. The funniest story about that is still, and I always remember, when the first year that Paul the cat was coming over here, and I was putting up 100 feet of wire in the neighbor's yard. And it's night because I don't want my neighbor to know that I'm in her yard putting up wires. And I'm actually pulling on the wire slowly. And there's resistance every 2 or 3 times I pull on it, there's resistance suddenly. And I don't know why. I think the wire is stuck somewhere. But suddenly, as it's getting closer, I see it's Paul the cat on the other end. He sees that little moving wire in the grass, and he jumps on the wire every 10 seconds because he sees that moving thing. So it's Paul the cat, and I'm like, Paul, I'm trying to put a wire up. Leave it alone. It was just so funny. And he would go crazy over that little wire in the grass going away. Oh, man. So what else do we have? Fais attention à toi, Joseph. Toujours un plaisir. Andrew the Exer says, maybe the projector was softening the image so that it is why the Nintendo looked good. I don't know, maybe. But I thought, you know what? I was thinking, well, it could be a cheap replacement to having a picture that looks okay. And it was very bright. So I was thinking in a dark room, I could actually project that to be pretty big on the wall. So I don't know. I didn't buy it because I was kind of hesitant. But when I was looking at the Nintendo screen, I was like, And it had all the inputs in the back for RCA jacks. What it had? It had RCA S video. It had for the composite, the RCA for composite, the S video. It had the digital, the blue, green, red connectors, and it had VGA on it. It was obvious. It didn't have HDMI. So I thought, yeah, that could be interesting somehow. So DGen 7.5 meters high. Huh. Could be interesting. I don't know. DGen says, I think the main problem with the wires and antennas is lightning protection. Rules very strict concerning that in Germany. Yeah. I don't know. Only you can really know this. Calvin says, I once painted an Entron 99 green and cable tied it to a tall fir tree. Was up there 2 years until I moved, poking out the top of the tree. Landlord never knew it was there. Yeah, there are ways to put stuff up when nobody notices. Bullfrog, best wire color is medium gray. Avoid blue. It stands out against the gray sky. Gray 10 blends in the blue sky. Jane Dagger has a very thin, straight copper wire. I can't see it without searching. Wow. A certified electrician needs to give his okay for the antenna. Wow. Okay. Yeah, ask for permission. You never know. Bob Perrin, nice to have you here from Sacramento, California. Nissan Greenwich, nice to have you here. Says fly tipping is rampant over here in Dublin. In Canada, you just put the garbage out. And that's pretty much it. Arthur's Alley Crafter's Kitchen. You know what? Most places still advertise and list only MLA30. But lately, almost everybody that has ordered an MLA30 that did not say was a plus got the plus. So I think unless someone somewhere still has a stock of the old MLA30, it probably is the plus version. Andrew DXer, what they do in Canada, it can be done in UK, but it will cost money to collect, which I suppose why some people choose to do fly tipping. Okay, because here it's like a service. It's a city service. It's the city of Montreal that does that, and it's been like that for a long time. So, like every year they send us a little pamphlet that says, "Remember, trash is on that day, recycling is on that day." And you have that day where you put up the big stuff that you don't want anymore. The only thing you got to be careful here is not to put it up the day that it shouldn't be there, because that can get you a ticket. Joe Sambla Newhouse says, I use a white wire for my window loop antenna. I like to be low profile as possible also. Yeah, I think it's, for a lot of us, it's the way we want to be, low profile. And you don't want to attract too much attention to your radios, because there's also the other side of things, is the more you show off, you've got electronics and stuff that might be worth money, it can attract the robbers. Jeffrey Kropp, nice to have you here from New Hampshire. Zach Leung, nice to have you on board, my friend. What else do we have? Reverend Robert Milligan went to my local electronics store the other day and bought a 25 feet roll of speaker wire strung across the ceiling of my garage, and I found it really enhances the signal strength. Cool. Cool. That's all a question of noise. It's really all a question of noise. The noisier it is in your environment, the more difficult that turns out to be. And that's where you start thinking of, MLA 30 loops and stuff like that. And Valdo Lemes, good evening. Nice to have you on board. PY4001 SWL in Brazil. And hope you are well also, my friend. Man, really, DX, we are all learning English here. I was making a joke at Sheldon when we recorded the International Radio Report today. One of the articles that I had that I would read on the air for the show Sunday had 3 or 4 words that when I looked at them, I was like, okay, how the hell do you pronounce that in English? So I actually went to Google the pronunciation of different words. Plus, there was one word that I actually said that was like, what the hell is that? I don't know what that means. And so, when the language you speak is not your first one, you always learn also, What else do we have? Jane Dagger, Dan Dance, I'm getting a plus. Yeah, that's pretty much what, because almost everybody is getting the MLA 30 plus now. So even though they don't advertise it seems to be the plus version for everybody. And I even suspect, because I was asking Sheldon, so my original MLA is a white light. My MLA 30 plus is a green LED on the power inserter. And I asked Sheldon, is your antenna an MLA 30 plus? And he says it doesn't say anywhere, but he did say that the power inserter was a green LED. So I wonder if there's even a subset of MLA 30s that were actually sent out that are the plus, but didn't have the plus written on them yet. Dijon says, thanks for everyone for explaining now. I know what a gutter is. Yeah, there are words like that, Jean-Marc Letts, still using Farrell's confidential list, 12th edition 2001 of utility stations you presented recently. It includes plenty of notes about frequencies. And you know what? Utility frequencies don't change that much. So I'm, even though some of the frequencies could be outdated or just not there anymore, I wouldn't be surprised that a lot of the stuff in that book is still quite actual, actually. Samu R, nice to have you on board from Finland. Take care, Tom DXer. Always nice to have you on board. See you Wednesday. Stay safe too. Well, the thickness of a wire usually doesn't have any difference in reception. Normally, it's really just the how long it's going to be. The longer it is, the better it is usually. Keegan, because I have a new newscast stream on my laptop connected to television. Yeah, sometimes it's the browser also for the chat. Sometimes the browser doesn't work well with the chat. Who's on noodles? Who's on noodles? I want to start experimenting with building an antenna around the perimeter of my roof. What conductor is best? Just you mentioned speaker wire 25. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter the size of the wire. Okay, it really what matters is preferably um, insulated wire, because if you go around near somewhere where it might have some metal, so it doesn't have a contact on it. But insulated wire of any kind works great. It's really a question of uh, you know what you have, or sometimes it could be the size could be dependent on if it's very long. Make sure that in the wind and everything it's not going to snap. So if it's too thin, it might actually break. But the size of the wire itself doesn't have an effect on reception. It's really the way you will put it up and how long it is that will have an effect. Is there anyone how actually ever seriously listened to? Um, you know, I listened to Brother Stare a couple of times. Most of the times were for the times that he's ranting at somebody else. And one time because he was talking about how dare we talk about whatever he's done because he's perfect and God will love him forever. And one time because, I mean, when you sit down and you're scientific and you read stuff about dinosaurs and you hear that guy on the radio saying, so I tell you now, the world is 6,000 years old. And you're like, okay. So everything scientific goes down the drain, and dinosaurs are fake, I guess. So you kind of like sit down a little bit because you listen in and you're like, wow, how can that crap be on the air? And worse, how can there be people believing in that crap, which is sad when you think about it. Calvin, telephone cable is great for receiving antenna also. Doesn't need to be that long and link the ends together. And you have a long antenna doubled back on itself. Mike Thornton, nice to have you here. KWC0L in Kansas. Matt says my MLA30, which is not a plus, has a green LED too. So you know what? I don't know. I don't know if the green LED could be an indication, but I wonder if there's not part of the MLA30s that were sent out over time that were plus, but it just didn't say it on it. So I wonder if the green LED might hint that it could be a plus, even though it doesn't say it. Um, how would one test to tell? I know the MLA30 Plus is supposed to be wider in reception, but with all the FM around here, I can't really test. The strong signals come in on non-resonant antennas. Well, actually, it's not wider because the MLA30 is actually telling you the MLA30 is plus is actually telling you that it starts at 500 kilohertz rather than 100 kilohertz. So on the inserter box, for example, no, on the box on the MLA30 antenna itself, the loop, it's on the MLA30, it's set 0.1 to 30 megahertz. So 0.1 megahertz to 30 megahertz, 100 kilohertz in reality. The MLA30 Plus, the sticker says 0.5 to 30 megahertz. How would one test that? I don't know. What's difficult to test out also is the fact that The MLA30, from what I see, the way you position it, the distance, wherever it is, the way it's oriented, it performs slightly differently. And it's extremely difficult to really test out and know which one would be which one without having both of them very nearby so that they perform on the signals in the same way. The only thing that I could see, and you know what, I am going to do that. This week is supposed to be real nice. We're supposed to have temperatures in the 70s. Next week, I was thinking of opening up the MLA30 Plus and the MLA30 and taking a picture of the inside to see if we could actually spot a difference between one and the other. And maybe with that, if I post the video with the pictures, then by opening the MLA30, maybe that could help you understand if you have the plus or not. But apart from that, kind of difficult to really know, do I have a 30 plus or not. I can't think of a test, you know. I can't think of a test. And I mean, there's improvements in some frequencies, but it's crazy. Mike Thornton says, number 14 stranded insulated wires always work well for me. Can buy 500 feet for around $40 at Home Depot. That's cool. That's cool. Gutter in Brazilian Portuguese. Kala? Something like that. I probably have it wrong, but Sean Maclet says, I also wanted to tell you that you said the name of the Klingenfuss editions exactly like a German would say it. Oh, really? Oh, yeah, he's totally crazy. I know, Calvin. Oh, man. What makes me laugh a lot also of Brother Stare is when I hear him with those moaning sessions. I have the impression of having a bunch of cows in the radio. Legion says, I lately read an article in a German online newspaper about WBCQ and World Last Chance, and they also mentioned Alan Wiener and how he was not satisfied with the new transmitter. That's, it's obvious that guy doesn't know what to do with that transmitter. It doesn't know how to operate it well. It's very, I mean, come on, Karina Hergmans. Who's that Noodles? Another question. Are there any Discord servers that you use? I don't use Discord. So there's a Facebook group that is with this channel. That is pretty much where I go, and that's pretty much it. What else do we have? David in Barcelona. I have both the MLA and MLA30 Plus, and after comparing both antennas preamp side by side on my one mini Mobius loop from long wave all the way up to 30, I found almost no difference in between them. That's interesting. And yet I have a difference above about 11 megahertz. Could it just be there are some small differences simply in the tuning and the way that they are manufactured. Because I do have an improvement above 11 or 12 megahertz. There's definitely an improvement. And so I will switch to the 30 plus above 11 megahertz and switch back to the original 30 below, or sometimes stay. It's crazy. It's crazy. Joey D, Brother's Terrible will be on the air forever, either live in reruns. Yeah, he's gonna say in his will that he spends the next $100 million of his estate on shortwave broadcasts. Some future society in 2220 will be listening to Brother Stare, the only thing left on shortwave. Yeah, I put them all in the same category, but I mean, come on, flat earth believers. I know. It's one of those things. Charity X, so if you were to both loops together, you would have the perfect loop. Something like that. So, hey guys, we've been on for 2 hours and 30 minutes almost. I'm starting to get hungry and a little tired of my day. I hope that you enjoyed the show today. It was nice to be here as usual. We're gonna see. I'm gonna look at the possibility of making a Sunday show this coming Sunday, and we'll see what comes up. So who knows? And if I am, well, of course, I'll let you guys know in the Facebook group. Remember, we are here twice a week on Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, 0 UTC. Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, 20 UTC. And who knows on Sunday what's going to happen. It'll all depend on many things. But if I'm here, I'm here. If I'm not, I'm not. I'm going to go eat and probably do a little more radio as the day goes by. So I'll probably be posting some stuff on the Facebook group of what I'm listening to tonight. So take care, everybody. Hey, Ja, nice to have you here, my friend from Illinois. And pretty cool to have everybody in here. It's always fun to have all of you, as usual. And please take care. Stay safe. Yeah, David, maybe it's slight differences in the batches. I don't know. I really don't know. It's kind of interesting. Because I was surprised when I got the plus. So take care, my friends. And we'll see you soon. We'll see you soon. So take care. Stay safe, my friends. Here's the link. Oops, no, that's not it. So official SWL channel on Facebook if you want to join in. Bye-bye.